I'm really excited about my guest today, Cindy Busby. We're going to talk When Hope Calls and much more. How are you, Cindy? Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you for having me. I'm doing really well. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing when you think about your career and how everything started. Go dive deeper into specifically enough why you wanted to be an actor.
Oh, wow. I feel like it was honestly something I have wanted since I was a kid. I don't really know why, except I had a huge imagination. I love playing characters and telling stories and watching stories and figuring out the human connection and why people do what they do, the kind of psychology about it. And I loved doing plays growing up, and I just fell in love with that live performance, which then led me into television and movies. And yeah, I can't imagine doing anything else. It's kind of cliche, but I truly have known since I was a kid that this is what I wanted to do.
Exactly. And I figured out what I wanted to do a little later in life, even though I had my pro wrestling career and I thought that was it. And then I thought teaching was it. And I found entrepreneurship and I said, man, if I would have had that bug earlier, oh goodness. Yeah. It's just, when you know it doesn't feel like work, it's the greatest thing in the world. So what can fans expect from Nora's journey in the new season of When Hope Calls?
Oh, wow. She has joined Brookfield looking for family that she never knew she had. So there's a lot of vulnerability at the beginning of her showing up, but then being welcomed with open arms. And then meeting this Mountie Michael who catches her eye and she becomes clumsy and he becomes clumsy, even though they're both people of law. And some things start to have some twists and turns where Nora might be in some kind of trouble that might lead to Michael needing to mountie up, so to speak. And yeah, her journey has been really amazing in like being welcomed into the town, finding her place there as an adult orphan, and then finding out whether she's going to stay or not. And maybe she might get into a little bit of trouble.
Trouble. Look out for that for sure. You got to tune in to catch up to see what's happening.
Yeah.
Talk about what the premise of When Hope Calls. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's a town called Brookfield where it takes place in 1920. The hustle and bustle of this little town and the community and people coming together and helping each other out. And at the center of it is an orphanage called New Hope that was started by Lillian and Grace, who are indeed my nieces that I never knew I had. And Grace has now left the town and Lillian is going to go visit her. And I come to town and take her place because I've taken a hiatus from being a lawyer. But the town is about community. It's about helping each other out. It's frontier town. So there's a lot of changes. They don't have electricity. They don't have a phone, but they have each other. And the grouping of characters is so fun and interesting. And that's one of the parts I love most about it, including the kids at the orphanage.
What prepared you for this role? How did you prepare for this role?
Looking into what it was like to be a woman in 1920, to be a lawyer specifically, which was extremely rare. It was just the beginning of it all, and really diving deep into what that looked like, how difficult it would have been, which shows the strength and character of Nora, who she is, and how far she's come. And yeah, just the mannerisms of that time. Things were socially different and certain things weren't accepted then as they are now. And so just really looking at the customs of a period piece on what it's like to be a part of that and keeping that as authentic as possible. Of course, it's still TV land.
Exactly. In the 1920s, what surprised you most about in your research of the 1920s to prepare?
That was really the coming of age of women. It was really like 1920 was the start of it, and that at that time, there was less than 1% of women who were lawyers, and they weren't, in fact, able to pass the bar until later in the 1920s. Yeah, so that kind of stuff was like, whoa. Like, I think we take for granted sometimes at how far we've come in so little time. And and the fact that this town of Brookfield doesn't even have electricity and doesn't have a phone, to think that, again, only 100 years ago, we didn't have that. We're just so lucky at how far we've come, and yet there's the technology aspect of it is amazing where we are now, but there's a disconnect along with it. So that's things I really loved about being a part of a period piece where you feel even more connected, even though you're disconnected in a lot of ways.
study technology at that time. It's fascinating because think about specifically enough how many people were against electricity and wanting to keep I'm a fan of the Gilded Age, and and I really enjoy that time in studying the men who built America, and just looking at specifically what the people who built America, look at all the specific times and look at technology and how many people were against specific things in technology. And you look at the 1920s, electricity was one of them, right? So many people were adamant, we can't do that.
Totally. Yeah. And I understand why. There's a part of us that always fears change, and we get comfortable in where we are. And yeah, there's always dueling factors in that kind of thing.
The dueling factors are what's best in technology. Every technological advance, it's like we have to go back in history and look at them. Oh, you know what? Once there's cars and eliminate horses, then the horse business is over. You go to something else, or, oh, you know what? We're going to eliminate fossil fuels. Electric car. We have to look at where technology brings us and defining technology and not see it as, hey, we got to make a change. I think in that time was so amazing because everything was booming. And I think that your character sees that. And before the crash in 29, right? You're going through that process. What do you feel like looking at your character development? Does your character like this change that's happening or not?
I think she does. I think she very much likes it. However, going back to Brookfield, because she comes from San Francisco where there is more advancement. And therefore, when she goes to Brookfield, she has to adapt to this change. So if we were a fish out of water, even though that water is very new for her in San Francisco, we grow so easily accustomed to these new technological advances. And so, yeah, it's a little bit of a change for her, but she also adapts really well to it versus other characters in the show struggle with the idea of not having a phone and not being able to communicate so easily.
Think about the hustle and bustle now, right? Think about San Francisco, and you're a lawyer in the 1920s, and then you go back to this town where they're looking at you like, women don't do that. So that's the other angle in the story, it sounds like.
It certainly is. Although I will say Brookfield is one of those towns where there is a certain acceptance to everyone that does come to town. We have a woman in the show that runs her own ranch. The character of Tess, played by Wendy Crewson, who her husband has passed and she's taken over, and she's tough as nails and she's rough around the edges and she doesn't let anyone mess around. And again, that's taken over a cattle ranch at that time, and men work under her is a whole other thing as well. So I do think that as much as it is a bit of a bizarre thing, Brookfield is a place where people come and they immediately feel welcome, and there's no kind of judgment in that regards. And it's and again, this show is very female driven. So that's a really amazing thing to see in a show that takes place in that time.
And then it gets on Great American Pureflix. When is it going to be available for people to watch?
Today episode 6 drops on Great American Pureflix, and on Sunday it airs on Great American Family, and in Canada it plays on Super Channel Heart and Home.
And you got to feel great at the opportunity for sure. What other projects do you have going on right now you want to talk about?
Right now, I'm just in the process of actually trying to develop and produce my own projects behind the scenes as well. So that's very exciting. It certainly is a more challenging feat for sure, because there's a lot of other aspects involved, but it's been a really great learning experience, and writing and creatively working in a different way for me has been really lovely and has challenged me in ways, and it's been uncomfortable in ways, but I like that. And it allows me to be a better person, a better artist, and a better actor by understanding all of those facets as well. Yeah, I'm excited about that and waiting to hear about a season 3 for the show. And so, yeah, a lot of great, exciting things.
Absolutely. And you've been part of it since the beginning of the first season?
I came in as season 2. So
that's great.
there was a big gap of time between the 2 seasons, a bit of a changing of the guards, a different network picked it up. Yeah, it's been a really great thing. Obviously, when you come onto a show and you're a new character, people are always fearful of what that'll look like. It's been really well accepted and really well loved, which is great.
What creativity are you looking for next? What in your projects? What is your hope, dreams going forward with these projects? What kind of stories do you want to make? And I'm intrigued by what you're trying to do.
I love stories that kind of make people feel things, make people laugh. I really love, I really enjoy being a part of this kind of family-friendly content world, but maybe bringing in a little bit more of an edge to it. So I do really enjoy that. And I'd love to do an indie. I love comedy. Yeah, I'm open to any opportunity. It's really for me, about a lot of the people that I get to work with, along with the types of characters that I get to create and show people. And again, it brings me back to how I started, where I really love telling stories about people that we can all relate to and see ourselves in. And and that's kind of it. And I'd love to, like I said, produce and direct. And so those are the avenues that I'm shuffling through right now.
Oh, fantastic. Where best place people can catch up with you? Where can they go?
Yeah, they can see me on Instagram at Cindy_Busby. And I also have a YouTube page as well, the Cindy Busby. And I'm on Facebook. I have a fan page. So I'm a little bit everywhere. And I have a website, cindybusby.com.
And you love your fan base now, right? On the show.
Oh my gosh, I love the fan base. They're absolutely incredible. They're the most loyal, supportive people. And I could not ask for better. They're the types of people that root for you and they follow you wherever you go, which is awesome.
All right. So my final question is one I take from my co-host that is busy in a lot of projects now. His name's Greg Hanna, and it's a very deep question. You ready for it?
Yes.
So tell me, Cindy, what's the most important thing in life you've ever learned?
Oh, wow. I'd say I'm still learning a lot. But I will say the thing that I've learned the most is to probably breathe. And this too shall pass, that everything is temporary. And some moments can be difficult and challenging, but not to hold on to them for dear life, because everything else, it all changes. And that also includes the good times. With the good times comes the more challenging times. And I've learned to just not hold on to anything, because everything is always changing and growing, and not to give it too much meaning, if that makes sense.
All right. Thanks again, Cindy, for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You're listening and watching The Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a